Right. You know what we were saying last week? We were talking about how what media-wise they can do to help the sport and improve the spectacle, and you know, the whole Welcome to Wrexham, Rob McElhenney, Ryan Reynolds, they're buying a bit of Alpine, right? And how they can tell those stories. I think just getting a bit of more of an insight of like these agents and how they work with the drivers and all that stuff. Like none of that's told. We don't see any of that. And that would be so interesting.
Almost like an all or nothing style documentary rather than
like an entourage of like Formula One agents.
And get people to care about, you know, because then it's not so much focus on who's winning all the time. It's you can build a, you know, Wrexham aren't winning Champions Leagues, but people care about them.
Exactly,
because of the storytelling.
But that's the storytelling, and I'm going to get dragged. But I feel like F1 and some commentators and their history is a bit archaic, and it's very, very samey. Without, you know, blowing smoke up your asses, I feel like having a dynamic like this on F1, on a podcast, amazing. Having it forefront of everyone is what's needed, because these are you guys are like the mirror image of the fans that F1 should be attracting. You know, gone are the days.
Because we're fans first and foremost.
But gone are the days where I feel like we can't watch F1 because no one else is watching it. So now that's not the case at all.
You've got YouTube highlights. You've got that's so accessible now.
I feel like F1 just needs to, I don't want to say grow up a little bit or get with the times.
I don't disagree.
It needs to.
It's evolving, but not quickly enough.
It's archaic, bruv. Like, okay, I'm not saying get all
and it's a shame there's no competition really in the live market in the UK as well.
Exactly. And it's like, I'm not saying get all these influencers doing TikTok dances on the grid, but all I'm saying is get some, if you want someone to be interested in something, get someone with the same interests. So like, I don't want to, as much as I love, you know, Brundle and that, I don't think he can talk to like an 11-year-old or 12-year-old and make him become a fan. But I can go up to, you know, like a 15-year-old. I remember, because I did this BBC tour, right? Not to plug that, but like we went to schools talking about, you know, what we do. And I said, I've met Lewis Hamilton, do this, and afterwards, all these kids come up to me, like year 10s, year 11s, talk to me about this, talk to me about F1. And these are the people we need to get. These are the next generation of fans, and they're the ones that don't come from money. You're not going to see them at all the karting circuits. It's no clicky stuff. And okay, look, did Netflix, you know, influence that a bit? Probably. That's not a bad thing. And we need to get rid of the people that say, "Oh, you're just a Netflix fan." It's off then. Like that. I feel like that's where it needs to evolve.
I hate that so much, man.
But even just like I did a talk at one of my best mates is a primary school teacher, and I went to the school and I did a talk about like YouTube, and I brought my plaque along and all that, and they loved it, and they felt like super kind of comfortable talking to me and asking me questions, because that is the thing that's seen as like YouTube is this big like job now. And if you can combine that with the sport that we love, and there's no reason why a younger generation, again, there wasn't as many avenues when we were kids to like consume it, right? But I think now you've got the freedom, you can just watch it on your phone on YouTube, and even if your parents are watching someone else on telly.
And that brings me back to the point of Lando should move to Red Bull, because Lando is the only guy that spoke about in the schools that he is that Gen Z poster boy. All right, your next move needs to go to a big boy team, and it's going to be Red Bull. And I'm telling you now, and you know, unless McLaren pull out of the hat and they get this, you know, championship chasing car, if not, he's be on them sugar-free Red Bulls day in, day out. He'll be drinking that. So that's where F1 needs to really, really evolve. It's not necessarily in the schools, it's with the youngsters who sit and watch Twitch and watch these sim races. That's your fan base.
That's how you convert.
Because you got to think about all the F1 fan bases from when I was growing up. Rich old white men in chinos. That's literally, that's what it is.
Bernie Eccleston literally,
chinos,
he did not care about anyone apart from the 50-plus-year-old who can afford a Rolex. That's all he cared about marketing to.
But then, in terms of like, you know, money and stuff, it does need to be a bit cheaper. It does need to be more accessible.
Yeah, a lot. I
think Silverstone's incredible for the price. You know, it's expensive. Thursday to Friday. I think Calvin Harris was on Thursday. You know,
Black Eyed Peas were there Saturday.
Yeah, Black Eyed Peas. Okay, maybe push the budget a bit more.
Well, I like Black Eyed Peas.
Let's get it started.
That's the formula.
But I remember because I turned down a Thursday because you just think like Thursdays aren't going to be like too much fun. But Calvin Harris is just giving it. So I feel like you either give them the money's worth or make it cheaper. So that's why I feel like, you know, Vegas is going to be mental. Miami's mental. I feel like the price kind of reflects that. you know, in terms of what you get.
We were talking about this before we started recording. Like, this has never been a sport for the working class. It was started in the 50s by a bunch of old, like, white blokes with loads of money who just wanted to go racing. And like, it's never been built around that. And I think for it to, I think we as a, and yeah, I mean, hopefully you're part of what we do and putting this out there and talking about the sport from a regular people's point of view.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully that starts to.
I think we're in the same tax bracket. Do you know what I mean? If you're in a different tax bracket where, you know, you're paying stupid amounts of money, you shouldn't be like influencing the youngsters that can't afford it. And that's like really rude to say. But like, just want normal people. I remember like I was in the Harvester having some dinner and I was watching. It was when Magnussen got P1 on the sprint and Q1 on the sprint.
Like, Brazil.
And there's a guy next to me and he's like, I think it might have been in the West Ham top.
Yeah.
He's like, Kevin Magnussen. I was like, yeah, it is. He went, oh, he's going to win that. It's not, but all right, yeah. So yeah, so people are like interested in it.
A little confused, but I like the spirit. Yeah.
People are interested in it, but I feel like
classic West Ham fan, man.
If I
holding on to hope when there is none.
But like, I feel like if I weren't dressed the way I was dressed, if I was dressed in like I'm mugging a lot of people off, but like, you know, chinos and shoes and linen top. You ain't going to talk to me, bro. But because we're kind of like the same, I can talk to him. I can approach him.
Yeah.
So I feel like the sport's got a long way to go.
It does.
But it's a great starting point with stuff like this.
Yeah.
It's come a long way in, again,
Definitely.
6 years ago, Bernie sold up.
Yeah, even like 2017, like you couldn't even watch the highlights on YouTube, no? It was the old logo.
And when they first started them, they were terrible.
No,
they didn't talk through it. It was almost like a fan cam, like fan made
like a few grunts.
replay.
Oh,
yeah. There was no timing. There was no information. It was just.
It's like
good.
But to be fair, I think Formula 1 is pretty good to watch. Especially we can watch. I've got like the silliest subscription. Like I spend a lot to watch them all on one screen. I want to watch you like the Matrix do, like putting that down. It does look good, but I just feel like they've got all this way to go. I'm not saying change presenters because I would never get someone out of a job. You need something like an alternate F1.2, an F1.5 or something where it's like catered towards that new generation of fans.
But they've got about kids broadcast, haven't they?
That's fucked. They started up with football, didn't they?
Yeah.
Kids commentating over.
Have you heard about that?
No.
It's like a kids-focused broadcast. It's almost like CBBC but for F1.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I read that.
But you've just got to be careful those kids aren't in the karting cliques. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like you have to be related. You have to have someone that
it's just doesn't like actually
exactly.
Yeah, just normal.
Yeah, you're right.
Just go to school.
Because
want to chat about Formula 1.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it's got a long way to go. But I'm really enjoying it. I do feel like it's getting there.
Yeah,
it's got just a big step. It's not like little baby steps now. You just need to make a big change.
It's made a lot of big steps in a short period of time. It's kind of leveling off a bit now, but that's not. This is quite a normal season by F1 standards.
Yeah. This is a bit like compared to what we've had. This is a bit like But then this is why like so. What's your views on the cost cap? Like, so what do you want a cost cap?
I think reasonably it was going to always take at least 2 years for changes because like James Vowles talked about this loads. Like their infrastructure at Williams is still miles behind what it was at Mercedes. Like that's not going to change with the cost cap overnight. That's going to take time, but it's 0.8 between P1 P20 in Austria Q1. The convergence is happening.
This is the closest I think I've ever seen. I know it's like so easy to get distracted because
you have to look at the totality.
Absolutely slapping everyone, and that's fair. But like the actual entire, I don't think I've ever seen a Formula 1 grid this close from like first to.
And it's a year and a half into the new reg. So I'm
and you've got like
I'm confident.
Aston Martin are just randomly there now. McLaren have just appeared out of nowhere for a Grand Prix.
But with the popularity of Formula 1 now, wouldn't you just love someone with stupid amounts of money to be like, God, it's like, would you watch the Olympics if I was on steroids? Yeah.
The steroid Olympics.
That, didn't they? I saw an advert for that. No.
What? No,
I swear.
You would.
Or was it? No, maybe it wasn't real. But
imagine though, like you've got Usain Bolt.
The performance enhanced.
Imagine just him.
And he slaps 100 meters in like 4.5 seconds.
He's sick, bro.
Crazy.
Just imagine like, you've got all these like figures from around the world, right? Let's just say the Saudi did like a live goal for Formula 1. And they just pour
They're
money.
talking about buying it, the Saudi.
Probably.
I've heard reports.
Yeah, no, they are. Yeah. But just
PIF.
imagine, like Lawrence Stroll with an extra 300 million with like it'd be sick, bruv. Imagine Someone like...
I don't know, we've just gone from like, let's make it more affordable for like the kids to like, fuck it, we're going to Saudi Arabia.
Fuck those kids. no, but like in terms of like for the business side.
Yeah, no, I get you.
For the product.
But like just imagine, like Williams having like, I don't know, say... Who's the guy that does Wrexham again? What's his name? Rob McElhenney and
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. Imagine Ryan Reynolds just like, he's sold all of his companies now. I'm going to give $1 billion to Williams. And they had no limits of what they can do. They're building a rocket ship, bruv.
Yeah, like an actual spaceship.
They are literally
it can like hover off the ground.
So that's why I was like, okay, now it's at the popularity. If it is so worldwide and global and everyone's talking about it and everyone's got some, even me, some shit views on it, some crazy theories. Just let them get on with it. That'd be sick. Or even just like one race of the year. You like the parents' race at Sports Day. Just let them have it. Just let them have a go on it.
I think
everyone get their spaceships out. Let's fucking race.
Exactly.
You know what
I think the sport's cooking. I think it's doing
cooking.
right. I think it's cooking. I think let it cook.